What if I told you that the creator of the world was a shape-shifting praying mantis who also happened to be a cosmic trickster? Well, today, we're going to dive into the incredible mythology of the San people to meet their most unpredictable and powerful god, Cagn. To really get a feel for this god, we have to start with a pretty strange question that he answered with an even stranger punishment. And trust me, this one story tells you pretty much everything you need to know about his wild, chaotic power.
So way back when, according to the and we're talking about one of the oldest cultures on Earth here, baboons weren't animals at all. They were these mischievous, hairy little men whose whole purpose in life seemed to be just causing trouble.
But their mischief took a really dark turn. They ambushed Cain's own son. They didn't just kill him, they hung his body from a tree and then started dancing and singing around it, openly mocking the god who created everything. But here's the thing about Cagn. His rage? It was creative. He found them, and with this incredible divine trickery, right as they were dancing, he drove a peg into each of their backsides, cursing them with tails. Humiliated, they fled to the mountains, no longer men, but the baboons we know today. And that mix of tragedy, fury, and, let's be honest, total weirdness, that is the perfect introduction to Cagn. So who is this god? The one who dishes out tails as punishment and turns tragedy into transformation? Well, let's meet him. This is Cagn, the mantis god.
So his proper San name is Cagn, and yeah, that first symbol represents a click sound in their language, but he's usually just called Kanying. And he's not just a god. The term is demiurge, which basically means he's a being who helped shape the raw stuff of the universe. But he's also a hero, and, as we've already seen, a very powerful trickster.
And a big part of what makes him so unpredictable is that he's an absolute master of disguise. He can pop up as anything, really. A snake, a louse, you name it. But his most famous form, the one he's known for, is the praying mantis. Now, it's really important to get this. The San people don't worship the actual insect. It's more like the mantis is seen as a physical avatar, a vessel for this incredible shape-shifting power. But yeah, Trickster doesn't even begin to cover it. Cagn is he's a being of incredible contradictions. He's got the best and the worst of creation, of divinity, and even of humanity, all wrapped up in one. And you can really see his two faces kind of at war with each other here. On the one hand, you have the ultimate creator, right? The guy who made everything, taught people how to hunt, gave them their sacred rituals. But on the other hand, he's kind of a hot mess. The stories call him a fellow full of tricks, constantly getting himself into scrapes and making these foolish mistakes that cause problems for everybody. And there is no story where these two sides collide more powerfully than in the myth of the eland, which is the most sacred animal to the San. So Cagn creates his masterpiece, this first perfect eland. But then, and this is a tragic twist, his own sons, who don't know how special it is, they go out and kill it. But even from that destruction, Cagn's creative power just explodes. He takes the blood and the fat from that one slain animal, and from it, he creates an entire herd, basically turning his own family's tragic mistake into humanity's greatest gift. And, for all this cosmic power, he's also described as a dream bushman, which is to say, a deeply relatable, almost human figure. He's got a family, and get this, it's just as quirky as he is. His wife, she's a rock hyrax. His adopted daughter is a porcupine. And his grandson, a mongoose, is often the voice of reason, the one who's always trying to talk Grandpa Cagn out of his worst ideas. Okay, so this blend of the cosmic and the down-to-earth personal stuff, it's not just for making good stories. It is right at the very heart of San spirituality and how they connect with the world. A huge amount of what we know about these beliefs comes from this absolutely breathtaking ancient rock art. But these are not just simple pictures of daily life. Think of them more like sacred texts painted on stone, and they often show the most important ritual of all, the trance dance. And this is crucial. Cagn isn't some distant, untouchable god sitting up on a cloud somewhere. No, he is woven directly into their most important spiritual practice. The stories say it was Cagn himself who gave the San people the sacred song for their trance dance. I mean, he literally handed them the key to travel to the spirit world, to heal the sick, and to tap into supernatural power. And you can really feel that intimacy, that closeness, in this prayer that was recorded way back in the 19th century.
They weren't praying to some remote king on a throne. They were crying out to a parent. Yeah, a flawed, maybe frustrating parent sometimes, but the parent they counted on for their very survival.
Okay, so what is the big takeaway from all this? From this ancient, shape-shifting mantis god, what is his enduring lesson for us?
The stories of Cagn, they're so much more than just myths. They're like a survival guide. They really are a window into the worldview of a culture that has thrived for tens of thousands of years, all by seeing the world in a profoundly different way than many of us do. You see, Cagn is the world that the sand lived in. He is both the life-giving rain and the sudden destructive storm. He completely embodies this idea that creation and destruction, they're not opposites. They're just two parts of the same endless cycle. His stories are basically a masterclass in how to live with that beautiful and, yeah, sometimes chaotic truth.
So what can a shape-shifting mantis teach us today? Well, he reminds us that order often emerges from chaos, that sometimes our biggest mistakes can become our greatest gifts, and that real survival, it isn't about trying to control nature, but about having a deep, powerful, and creative respect for it. And that's a lesson that feels more urgent right now than maybe ever before.